It's a huge honor. I mean, I love the Country Music Hall of Fame and Museum so much. I love getting to do anything with them, and they've been so supportive of me since I moved to Nashville 8 years ago. This is my third time as part of this exhibit, and every year that I've gotten to do it, it's like, I'm like, wow, this is unbelievable. Just to see my personal belongings, my instruments in the exhibit is surreal, and this year I think was especially meaningful to me. I made a bluegrass record that was inspired by the music that I grew up playing, that my grandfather played and kind of passed down through my family, and so I wanted to include my grandfather's guitar in my exhibit this year because that's really where it all came from for me, and that just kind of directly inspired my latest record, Crooked Tree. I grew up in California, but my dad grew up on a farm in Illinois and moved out to California after college. And they grew up kind of playing in a family band out on the farm and listening to the Grand Ole Opry and even coming down to Nashville to hear the music here. And so whenever we'd go back to the farm, usually in the summertime or for Christmas, we'd all kind of sit around and play. My grandfather played the guitar, and the guitar that's in the exhibit now he bought when he was in the Air Force. I think he was stationed in Louisiana and found this guitar. I know that when he was in the Air Force, he heard Hank Williams. Hank came and played for them, and that's when he really fell in love with country music. Through that, he discovered Flatt and Scruggs and got a banjo and started taking banjo lessons when he got back to Illinois. I went and visited my grandmother when I was writing songs for my record, Crooked Tree, and she had the old beat-up Gretsch guitar that my grandfather had, and I was like, let me take this back to Nashville. I want to fix it up and make it playable again. And when I got home, I ended up writing a bunch of the songs for the record that were inspired by that trip out to the old family farm. And I also came back with this guitar, so it kind of all went hand in hand for me. It's kind of old and fragile, and it still needs more setup work, so whenever it comes out of the exhibit, I would like to get it worked on and maybe get it into a more playable state. I did kind of put new strings on it and try to mess around on it a little bit before giving it to the Country Music Hall of Fame. But if I were to go out on the road with it, I think it needs some more TLC. Going back, we drove down the road and walked around on the old farm when I made the trip up there amidst like writing for this album, and it was kind of bittersweet. We saw like the old house where we used to visit and where my dad grew up, and it was kind of run down, and so that really got me thinking about like where bluegrass music started in my family, and it kind of inspired some of the songs on my record. The song Flatland Girl I wrote about that farm and how it's no longer in my family, and how it was really meaningful to me growing up. And a piece of that, even though I didn't grow up in Illinois, so much of kind of my family history is rooted there, and it does impact who I am today.
Oh, I'd rather be a crooked tree.